Before we start the show, let's hear from one of our sponsors. Their support keeps this show free for you. Don't you wish we could scoop up all the electronics in our house and just throw them in the garbage? Are you sick of fighting with your kids about how long and how much? And no, you can't have social media. And no, we're not going to watch our show for 7 hours a day. Electronics are the bane of our existence. But how can we cohabitate with electronics? I have created an event. It's called Plugged In Parenting. And I'm going to be meeting with folks April 29th and 30th for an hour each day at noon to discuss how we can live with electronics in our children without completely indulging them and also without being completely restrictive. Join me for this 2-day event. I can't wait to see you there. Thanks for joining me on the Peace and Parenting podcast. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome back to the Peace and Parenting podcast. I'm Michelle, and I want to talk about electronics. Electronics. They seem to be the bane of our existence. But I want to be really clear that electronics are here to stay. There is nothing we can do about their integration into our society and into our world. And to try to say that, we can just get rid of them and kids won't use them is not very realistic. Now, that doesn't mean that we give our children unfettered access to the internet. That doesn't mean that we take our hands off completely and allow them just to do whatever it is they want to do at any age. That's definitely not the case. But to say that you can give a 14-year-old a flip phone and that that's good enough in today's society is not realistic. Not only will it cause anxiety and stress for that 14-year-old who doesn't have access to the internet, who doesn't have access to the things all of their friends have access to, teens are already feeling like they don't want to be different. They want to fit in. They want to have a social life. And a teen's social life is centered around electronics and social apps. I hate to say that, but that is the truth. Now, again, that doesn't mean at 8 years old, we give our kid full unfettered access to the internet and all the social media apps. I feel as if there's this polarizing discussion that's happening right now in the world around, I'm just going to give my kid a flip phone and they're not going to have anything until they're, 18. And people who are on that end believe that those folks whose kids have, electronics and use devices are just giving them full unfettered access, which isn't true. Or maybe it is true, but maybe there's a place for there to be definitely some rules and limits and a thought process behind electronics and the usage of. Now, listen, I don't think anybody under 2 should be watching any electronics. I don't think that's really necessary, right? I think if there's, preschool age kids, a show on television that's educational, that is child-centered, 20 minutes a day, doesn't feel like that a child can't do that. And I don't know why they can't. And to be really honest, many of us parents, we use electronics as a way to get a break. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I don't think there's any shame in that, and that we're ruining our kids because we let them watch Paw Patrol for 20 minutes while we make dinner. And I don't think us parents should feel guilty that we are sitting down and watching a movie with our kids that is, age appropriate and entertaining. We all love entertainment, and cinema and storytelling and theater on a screen is quite beautiful. And I don't think any of us should shy away from that. So we have to be very careful when we're talking about electronics. We can't just say it's black or it's white. It isn't. It's very nuanced. And our children are growing up in a world of not just television and not just cinema, but they're growing up in a world of internet. not how we grew up. We didn't have the internet until I was in college. My experience is not my child's experience. And we can't deny them their experience, and we can't deny them their modern reality. I've said it before on the podcast, but my dad was devastated that I was watching MTV. Like, he couldn't believe it. My head was going to rot. I was going to turn into this terrible person. I was going to be a groupie and run away with Aerosmith. God knows what he thought, but it's just not true. I loved MTV. It was an incredible new experience in a world of videography, in a world of music, in a world of all kinds of things. And it didn't ruin me. Now, are electronics bad? Sure. Electronics are overall bad if you spend too much time on them. If you're watching content that is, not appropriate. If you are not, engaging in the real world. So the other piece of this too is, are you offering opportunities to connect with your child, or are you just saying, no, you have to have a flip phone? Are you offering opportunities for them to be outside with you? Are you offering them opportunities to do other things? Or are you just saying, no, I'm not doing this for you because you're going to become addicted and I'm super stressed out about it, and so we're just not having it? And what does that scarcity cause? Will it cause a child to have more desire? So I had a friend, and her neighbor was a electronics guru, right? She was an educator around electronics for kids, and she didn't believe in giving her kids any video games or any iPads or anything. So they had nothing, and they were late school age kids. Well, they ended up at her house all the time because her son had video games, and because they were able to play over there. And so they just lied and snuck and did it anyway, and became very, very obsessed with it, knocking on his door at 6 a.m, staying until late hours. I mean, the little boy had to set a limit and say, I don't want you just over here just to use my electronics. I thought we were going to hang out and go play outside, and you just come over and you're on my video games. So we might be creating some problems in our kids' life that we don't even know we're creating, just because we're being overly restrictive. Electronics are hard. I'm not gonna deny that. They really are. But I think if we say really little kids don't need electronics, school age kids, it'd be nice. I mean, television is still a good option for educational purposes, also for entertainment, also to give us a break. There's even some beautiful, fun games on our devices that kids can play. There are some books on tape, or they don't call it books on tape anymore. Now I'm aging myself. Books, streaming books that kids can listen to, audiobooks with pictures, and they're on a device. Now, should we sit them in front of that for 5 and 6 hours a day? No, absolutely not. But there is a happy medium here where we can live in a world of electronics where we're not having it rule our life, and we can have some rules around it that make sense for everybody.
We are going to take a short break from our show to hear from our sponsors. Without their sponsorship, I wouldn't be able to bring you the Peace and Parenting podcast free of charge. So I'll see you back in just a few minutes. Are you a mom who feels like you're juggling it all, but something just feels off? It could also be your hormones causing this chaos. Hormone Harmony contains science-backed herbal extracts called adaptogens. Now, here's the beauty of adaptogens. They help the body adapt to any stressors like chaotic hormonal changes that happen naturally throughout a woman's life. That's why Hormone Harmony is perfect for women of all ages who are struggling with life-disrupting symptoms such as PMS, like irritability, moodiness, discomfort, or uncontrollable cravings, and menopause with symptoms like hot flashes and night sweats. The results are impressive. There are over 40,000 reviews on their website. Women cannot stop talking about it on social media. A bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. So for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use the code PEACE. Check out happymammoth.com. Use the code PEACE for 15% off today. Are you sick of the sibling fighting? Are you tired of asking your child to do the same thing over and over and over again, only to end up using threats and bribes to try to get them to cooperate? Well, it doesn't have to be like that. You can learn the ideas of connection through our Connected Parent Mastermind group coaching program. We meet 3 days a week. Myself and my 2 coaches hold meetings. We also give you access to all of my online materials, meaning 10 modules of instruction, PDFs, podcasts, and my book. You get to join our school community and interact with coaches and myself and so many parents who are doing this work just alongside you. So if you're feeling stuck, or if you want to accelerate your connected parenting practice even further, join the Connected Parent Mastermind. Click the link in the show notes for more information. Let's dive back in.
Now, as kids get older, they're going to want to have more time on their electronics. And I think it's okay as long as we're talking to them about what's safe. We are talking about with them what's dangerous. And if they feel as if they're connected enough to us, that they can come to us if something bad happens on the internet. And I've had a lot of clients who've had kids that, have had mishaps on the internet. And it's mostly for those clients who are super restrictive and who are overtly tight about it and overtly concerned about it. It creates this energy where the kids are sneaky. And they lie, and they don't want to tell them what they're doing on the internet. Another thing that will create a kid who's lying and sneaky is punishment. So if we're punishing our children, or giving them lots of consequences, they aren't going to tell us when something goes wrong because they don't want the consequence or the punishment, or they're embarrassed, or they're afraid of the shame. There's a lot of research out there that says, one of the things that keeps children really safe in adolescence is the relationship they share with their parent. Because big things come up in adolescence, and having a safe adult to talk to about those things helps kids do better, helps kids navigate, helps kids have a safe adult place to go to help them through those really hard times. So yes, electronics are quote unquote bad, but what's good and can combat that, that hard thing or that bad thing is the relationship we share with our kids. So are we spending as much time worrying about, talking about, restricting electronics that we are about connecting and forming relationship and bond and making sure shame is out of our relationship with our kids? Are we balancing that? Are we asking kids to get off the internet and off the electronics with connection? Do we know what our kids are watching? Do we know what it's interesting. I was a little worried about Pia because she loves TikTok. And so as she was getting into TikTok more, like 12, 13 years old, I was like, oh, I should probably really kind of know exactly what she's looking at on there. So every day I would ask if I could hang out and look at her TikTok with me. And she was like, sure, no problem. The kids' TikTok, like all she had was dancing because she's really into dancing, girls volleyball because she was really into volleyball at the time, and food. So those 3 things kept coming up on her feed, coming up on her feed. Every time I would sit with her, it would be that. And so it gave me pause, and I was like, oh, she's clearly interested in these things. And now I've just recently watched with her, and it was cats, because we have a cat. So she was super into cats, and she'll send me cat things from TikTok. And so we can't believe that it is all bad, that it is all bullying, that it is all dopamine rushing, that it is all encompassing. Sure, there are all those things. There are bad things on the internet. It can be a dopamine, it can cause you to seek dopamine, and it can be addictive. But that doesn't mean that everything that's going on in your child's social media or in your child's electronics is necessarily bad. And I think to demonize it all takes the nuance and the complexity out of what the internet truly is. Also, if you have children who are 12, 13, 14, 15, 18 years old, they're using computers for research. They're required to be on all kinds of apps to submit papers and to interact with their teachers and to interact with the staff at school. They can't do that without electronics. Their friends are all texting one another and Snapchatting one another. And to not be part of that group can be very devastating for a teenager. It can cause anxiety and stress and depression. And so we don't want that to be their reality, but what we want is a balance. To just toe this line that it's, addictive and terrible, and we have to get it out, and it's why everyone's depressed, all the kids are depressed, and that isn't fair. And it's not true. The research does not say that. So, sure, it also doesn't say it's good, but overexposure and prolonged usage, and in worst case scenarios, these terrible things happen. But we can be measured around it, and we can have protocols around it, and we can be thoughtful around it. And I think that's really most important when we're talking about electronics. So I'm having an electronics event, and it was going to be April 29th and 30th at noon. And I'm going to talk about electronics for an hour each day, and we're going to have a Q&A, and we're going to really dive into how do we have a measured response to electronics with our kids? I would love for you to come. The link will be in the show notes, and I hope to see you there. Thanks for joining me on the Peace and Parenting Podcast.
Hey there, Peace and Parenting family. If you love the podcast but wish to enjoy it without interruptions, your wish has come true. Introducing the ad-free version of the Peace and Parenting podcast, available exclusively on Apple Podcast. As a subscriber, you'll get all the heartfelt advice, parenting stories, and actionable tips you love without any ads. For less than the cost of a coffee each month, you will enjoy uninterrupted listening while also supporting our work to help you build stronger connections with your kids. Try it out for free. Simply find Peace and Parenting on Apple Podcasts, click Try Free, and you'll gain immediate access to our ad-free episodes. There's no commitment, and you can cancel anytime. So if you're ready for a more peaceful, uninterrupted listening experience, subscribe now. Let's keep focusing on connection without the distractions.